Well, good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this panel on Gaelic Medium Education, and just a panel discussion with a very large panel, as we've got here to my right and to my left, and welcome to those both here physically in e-Sgoil in Stornoway, but also those with us through the virtual world and by virtue of the cameras before us who are live streaming this through e-Sgoil, and those at home. And we're hoping tonight to have a discussion just about answering some questions that parents might have when choosing whether or not to put their children into Gaelic medium education. And for those who's here in front of us at e-Sgoil, they'll be able to have an opportunity to ask questions. But also those of you at home, if any of you do have any questions, remember you can submit those, and hopefully we might be able to get through some of them as we go. I'll introduce myself before I get to introducing the panel. My name is Connor Smith. I'm from Gress, originally here in the Isle of Lewis. I went through Gaelic Medium Education myself, and then to the Nicholson Institute, and now I'm working at the BBC as a producer and a broadcaster. But more importantly, and much more informatively, I should hope, than myself, is a panel that we've got here tonight. And I'll start on the left with Donald MacLeod, who's a teacher in Gaelic and social subjects through the medium of Gaelic at the Nicholson Institute, and who himself went through Gaelic Medium Education. Emma MacDonald, who's a classroom assistant at Sgoil Stornoway Primary. Her colleague Sandra McKeever, who's a primary school teacher at the Gaelic Medium of Stornoway Primary School. Also, we've got Sheila Mackenzie, who has a much more multilingual background than myself, that puts me to shame with two languages, and who has herself two children who've gone through Gaelic Medium Education. Innes Scott, who's beside me here, who himself has a child in Gaelic Medium Education, and who's been doing, am I right in saying, a wee bit of an effort in learning Gaelic yourself as well now? At an older age than the wee fellow in the school. And to my right, so that I make sure I don't forget anybody, we've got Mary Claire Ferguson, Education Officer at Cornwall and Shear. I hope I'm correct in all of the titles. Joanna McLean from Skills Development Scotland, who's a modern apprentice, and who herself went through Gaelic Medium Education. Hannah MacLeod, who's going through Gaelic Medium Education, and also Lauren MacLeod and Caitlin Macaulay on the right at the end of the table, who are themselves at the Nicholson Institute as well. And more folk in the audience, but I'm not going to name absolutely everybody, or else we won't get anywhere before we start. But I thought that the best way to start, and especially for parents who might be listening, this is a very important time of year when they decide whether their children will go to Gaelic Medium Education or not. We've all heard about Gaelic Medium Education, but it might be worth Sandra, as a primary school teacher, just to explain really well for those children who do go through Gaelic Medium Education, who come to their first day at school in the autumn, and they're going to be taught in Gaelic. How does that work in a practical sense? What are we talking about for a child going into Gaelic Medium Education?
Well, it's very daunting for them. And a lot of the children we get at the moment are not fluent in Gaelic. They may have gone through the nursery system, but they're still not very fluent. It's very rarely now we get children from a Gaelic speaking home. If we do, that's great for us because it makes life very easy, but unfortunately that's not the reality. So to make the children comfortable, in the first term we do a lot through play. A lot of talking and listening so that the children can develop their skills. We do a lot of games, a lot of drama. I do a lot through traditional song because of the wonderful sounds of the traditional song. Puppet stories, we do a lot through art. And in the first term, in fact for the first 2 terms, we don't expect the children to read or write. We're trying to develop their fluency in the language. And the way in which we do that is we do lots of little projects each week. Projects that they're familiar with, topics they're familiar with, talking about themselves, their family, clothes, pets, lots of different projects. And we give sheets of work home where the children learn vocabulary and that's phonetically done for parents as well, so the pronunciation is easier. And we do projects in school alongside that. And we make the children comfortable in the first term, so that they're relaxed when they're talking to us. They make a lot of mistakes initially, and it's important that we don't accept mistakes. If the child makes a mistake, you stop them, you correct them, and you get them to repeat. Now, there's a lot of repetition, a lot of gesticulation on my part, and I do a lot of miming, showing them what I mean.
And it has to be quite a flexible system in that case for the different competencies of children going in.
That's right. And in the second term, we start to look at the sounds, the phonological sounds, and the single letter sounds, the digraphs, the double letter sounds. We do a lot of work on that through play. The same goes for maths. We do an awful lot through play. They make the shapes with glitter and with shaving foam, and we use tweezers and lots of collage work. We make it fun. So they're learning even though they're not realised. They think they're playing, but they're actually learning. We teach the digraphs as well, the double letter sounds, and then we start to put these together, blend them together to make sounds, to make words. We do a lot of that, and the blending process is very, very important. It's the stage before we start reading. Reading, we don't start reading until much, much later in the session, probably near the end of the second term, the beginning of the third term. And we usually test them to see how well they're coping with the blending. And what I have found, I did this 2 years ago, and what I found was, to my amazement, that a lot of the children were so competent in blending, they completely leapfrogged over the first stage of the reading books, and they started on the second stage. In fact, I had one little boy who fast-tracked to stage 4. It was astonishing. And we don't expect them to write until probably the start or even the middle of the last term. So therefore the children are not put under a lot of pressure when they come in to read, write and speak. We get the fluency in place first, and then we introduce the reading and then the writing. And I've certainly found it to be very successful.
And Nisha, since I've accidentally segregated everybody by profession and parents and students as well, but if I jump in as to yourself as a parent, and Nisha, hearing that, I'm sure it'll be ringing a lot of bells, because do you mind explaining, you've got a child yourself in Gaelic Medium Education?
Yeah, I've got a 7-year-old boy, and he's in GM3 in Laxdale. And it wasn't my decision, like honestly, to put him to Gaelic Medium. I was... whatever it was his mother's choice, and his mother's a fluent Gaelic speaker, and her mother, and they kind of, I wouldn't say pushed, but they said it's the best thing for him, and I said, well, you know, whatever, fire on. But as he started coming home from school, I was panicking I wasn't going to be able to do his homework, but it made me start thinking and learning it as we're going along, and I was kind of following everything he was taking home. And I would say it's the best decision, without a doubt. He's getting on fantastic at school, and you know, he loves going to school. And I know when I was young, I hated going to school, and I also felt like when I was young and you were getting pushed to learn Gaelic, I wasn't keen on learning it, and I kind of felt that the kids that were learning Gaelic, you know, their classes were boring in school, and they were kind of separated from the rest. But you can see certainly in Laxdale School, all the kids mixed together, you know, Gaelic or English. But no, I don't regret him going to the Gaelic medium at all.
And he might be improving your own Gaelic as well, in it.
Without a doubt, I'm certainly trying my hardest with Duolingo, and I've just enrolled in a kind of distant learning course in the college with Gaelic, so see how we get on with that.
And Emma, you yourself, you're a classroom assistant at Stornoway Primary as well, and that is sometimes, you know, the subject of homework will come up, but there is support both for the kids and for parents and that. And like Sandra was saying, there's a flexibility inbuilt within the system as well.
Yes, absolutely. So with my role, I'm a classroom assistant, so luckily for me, I get to work between primary 1 and 2 and all the way up to 7. So I get to see all the different kind of levels and all their work. And as well as that, I do a lot of after school clubs. So I'll do the English ones and I'll do the Gaelic ones. And with the Gaelic ones, parents are always welcome to come in, because with that one we do their homework with them, and then it means that, you know, when they go home at 6 o'clock and things, they don't have to start doing it then. But parents are always welcome to come in and kind of see what we do, and so we do things like that. We'll do different activities with them. We just try and keep it fun, so we don't want to make it as if it's kind of like a chore they have to do it. And a lot of them enjoy it because they get to do their homework, and then they get, you know, a biscuit and a cup of juice, and then they're with their friends and they're seeing everyone else kind of doing their homework, and they know like there's nobody there that kind of dreads coming to after school club, because they know it's like a fun after school thing. So they see like each other, they support each other, and then they've got their parents are all welcome to come in with us, and then in school as well. So it's quite good for them that they see myself and my other colleagues, we're all with them in school, and then when we're with them after school, they're comfortable around us, and they know that if they're stuck they can come to us. But it's good in that sense that they feel that kind of comfort. And
I'm sure as well for if there are a lot of parents now who don't have Gaelic themselves, being able to come to an after school class,
yes,
that it's helping not only the children but the families as well,
definitely,
which will help the kids further on in the year.
Definitely.
And Sheila, I might bring yourself in on that point, and I'm not, in case I pronounce it wrong again, Nisha, but do you mind telling us a wee bit about where you're from yourself, and how we tend to think of bilingual education as being outside of the norm, if you like, across the country. Explain a wee bit about your own linguistic background.
Right, I come from a place called Nagaland, which is in northeast part of India. So we're still Indians, but it's a tribal society, and we have, I think, officially about 27 tribal languages. But additionally, because we are part of India, as a government rule, we have to be able to read and write Hindi and English up to the primary stages. So primary is still the age of 15, so that's compulsory. And then you get to, you know, like say 3 friends I have, and we all speak different languages, and we have to somehow kind of understand each other. So there is a lingo, we call it Nagamis, but it's a combination of a bit of Hindi and a bit of your language maybe. And Assam being closest neighbors, we have adopted a lot of their constructive part of the language. But it's more like it's a lingo, but that's what connects us more. But everybody else speaks English too, so.
That's it, and I'm sure as well, as children, if you're hearing so many languages around you
children
that soak it up.
5. You go, you don't really know, you know, but when you speak, you end up speaking you never speak one. Even in my own house, my mom has a different, even though it's the same language, they'll have, I'm from a tribe called Kuki, by the way, Kuki, but then my dad comes from a different clan, and my mom comes from a different one. So there's a difference even in that. So it's like another language altogether. So I'm speaking 1 with my friends, 3 with my parents, you know, and then we go to school going, what? Because we've never heard English before. Yeah.
And to add to that mix of languages growing up, in Lewis, your children went through Gaelic Medium Education. How did you find that as a parent?
Well, so my ex comes from Gravar. He was working in India, so that's how we came about. But I don't really think it's much of an issue, because if you live in China, you would be learning Chinese. You know, I didn't really think, and there's this opportunity. And my ex used to say that Gaelic's kind of, you know, it's not as popular, and we're trying to revive again. And there were women who came around the house just when my daughter was just about school age, and they were really trying to talk about Gaelic Medium. And I thought, well, you know what, I would have sent her to Gaelic Medium anyway, because there's a choice of language. I was kind of dying for more languages. You know, I wish they had more languages, because it was so strange to speak my own language to my daughter. It's very strange in this place. But if there's an opportunity just outside the house where they're going to be teaching them a new language, for me, there's a new language. But you know, half of their heritage is here. So I think it's not even an issue. I feel like they have to go to Gaelic Medium.
And
And they learn English anyway, everybody speaks English, yeah.
And there is that side of it as well, Innes, you've raised a wee bit that going through Gaelic Medium Education, you do have things like songs that they'll do in the school that help them to learn. And I'm sure in a way it helps tie the younger generation to the older generation as well, and just to within the community almost. And I'm not sure if maybe you see that yourself with the wee fellow in terms of being able to speak to all the buttocks.
Oh yeah, totally. But I mean, what you were saying there about a child that maybe learns 2 languages, they don't start speaking till they're 5.
Yeah.
I did notice with my son, he was just a wee bit later before all his words came, but he's fluent Gaelic, fluent English, and he manages it no bother. But I mean, it is great, like you were saying, to see him being able to listen into what the older people are saying, and then looking at me and I'm standing there clueless, you know. But no, that's what's definitely making me want to learn it.
Well, and so I'm not necessarily just looking to my left and ignoring everybody on my right as well. Joanna, you're a modern apprentice at Skills Development Scotland, but tell us a wee bit about your own experience of Gaelic Medium Education, because you went through Gaelic Medium Education.
So I've been through Gaelic Medium Education up until 5th year, and I've had many what do you call it? Opportunities through speaking Gaelic, saying going through the mod and TV programs as well, and radio, and there was also school trips to Ireland and different places, so you get
being able to do
big
different
option,
things and learn new things. And I'm sure going to Ireland as well, you'll see the links culturally we've got when you kind of recognise half a word in the room.
It's different, but you can kind of pick out what they're saying and you understand them as well. And also I got this job through being able to speak Gaelic, because it was on the condition that I spoke Gaelic. So it's all very useful. It's very useful. Yeah.
And it might be worth, in fact, since we're talking about secondary level is different to primary level in terms of Gaelic medium education, and you're a secondary teacher, but certain subjects you teach through the medium of Gaelic, am I right?
Yes. By the time the pupils come to secondary education, they'll be equally competent in Gaelic and in English. That's the aim of the system. So after the first, usually 3 years of complete immersion in primary, they'll then go into a phase called immersion, which means they're still taught through Gaelic, but they're also learning English language skills. So by the time they come to the end of P7, they've had good exposure and they've made good progress in Gaelic and in English. So when they come to the secondary level, the challenge and the opportunity is to continue an immersion experience in subjects and in different elements of the curriculum and different experiences inside and outside of the classroom. So in our own local secondary here, we offer about a third of the curriculum on S1, 2 and 3 through the medium of Gaelic. So when they come in to the secondary school, they will continue to do Gaelic as a subject, but they will do a range of other subjects through Gaelic, and the subjects that we're not able to offer through Gaelic, they will do through the medium of English. When they progress through the school into the senior phase, they have choices of different courses, different subjects they can do through the medium of Gaelic. So at the moment, we offer Gaelic as a subject, we offer a social subject, like modern studies or history through the medium of Gaelic, and uptake has been increasing year on year. So the number of pupils coming through secondary education at the P7S1 stage is increasing, which I think is a testament to that pupils and parents value it. And at the stage where they choose going into the senior phase, the number of pupils choosing to do a subject through Gaelic is increasing as well. Now, the reason we want to continue doing stuff through the medium of Gaelic is that we can continue to build on the skills they've learned in primary, and that they continue to develop both their Gaelic literacy skills and their English literacy skills, because the aim is that they'll be equally competent in both languages, and that they're well placed when they leave school to do any career that requires Gaelic language skills. They'll also be well placed for other careers that don't require Gaelic language skills, but that adds significant value to their education, that they're well placed to go for the many jobs in many different sectors. In addition to that, secondary schools are involved in a range of different opportunities. Film G is probably one of the most popular things that we do in the secondary school, opportunities to be involved in local national mods. We have a group of S1 and S2 pupils who meet at lunchtime because they want to do something through the medium of Gaelic, and we have between 30 and 40 pupils meeting, and that's just in two-year groups, so it's quite a high percentage. We've surveyed the pupils who've gone through Gaelic Medium Education, and at every stage from S1 right through to doing courses through the medium of Gaelic, they viewed positively. There's always room for improvement and things that we can do better, but they viewed as a very positive experience, and they valued both those who come from a Gaelic speaking home and those who have no Gaelic background. So it's open to everybody, and I would say it's a great opportunity to continue with Gaelic at secondary level.
And another thing that follows on in a way from the advantages of Gaelic proficiency when you do enter secondary, and Sheila, I know we were speaking a bit about it before we came upstairs, which is if you've got two languages, the ability to learn another language, it seems to be, it
Especially
feels
as a
much.
child, I believe so, because I became very dull as an adult. So I think as a child you do speak, I don't really think it's even how smart you are. You just you just absorb stuff around you because you're learning all the time. So I think the best time is when you're really young.
That's it, and able to soak it all in. Marie Claire, I know that we were speaking here before we came on as well here, and that is one thing that is an advantage, is that you're never going to be at a disadvantage from having Gaelic, and I'm sure that's something the core recognises.
Yeah, and I think, as you're saying, it's the cognitive benefits of learning another language. Immediately then, there's a lot of research been taking place over a number of years now, and particularly looking at bilingualism and just the benefits for that young person in their learning. They become very creative, they're good problem solvers, and probably one of, previously I was a head teacher, and one of the things that would often come up was, will they catch up? But in actual fact, they'll often go beyond and actually succeed even better than some of the English medium children through language learning. And they say that you learn one language and you get the second one half price, because you've got that cognitive ability then. And we see that with secondary pupils, that in looking to learn another language, they have that very positive attitude about language learning. They see how easy it is to have learned Gaelic, and they have that confidence. It's about probably building that confidence, and also about bringing with that heritage too, and learn about their culture and their island as well. So yeah.
And Hannah, I know you're still at the Nicholson Institute, I'm right? Before I tell a lie, making sure. What opportunities do you think you've gotten yourself from going through Gaelic medium education, when in a sense almost talking to a parent who might be thinking, oh well, won't I put my son or my daughter into Gaelic medium? What do you think the opportunities are that you've had coming from that?
There's been countless things. Like Joanna was saying, we got the trip to Ireland, so we got to see a different side to Gaelic. I know it's a different language, but you see all the links. So that was one thing. I've taken part in the Scottish national debate, so that got me to develop skills and stuff that will be useful in future, and a trip to Edinburgh as well, and we got to see the Parliament in Edinburgh as well, which we've never done before. We took part in Film G as part of our advanced higher Gaelic course this year, so that was good fun, and it was a good little Sky from class 2. So
you never hear any complaints about a wee Sky from class at all.
So there's just non-stop things, like in first and second, maybe third, fourth year, we got our own iPads, laptops to help us with our work. So that was a huge benefit. It helped us a lot by using them.
And Lauren, Najal, am I right in saying you're not in Addison and
Yes.
not in the Gaelic? Would you, what do you think yourself when it comes to Gaelic medium education? Would you have preferred to be in Addison now in the Nicholson?
Yes, it would have been a lot more easier for learning the language and developing it for what I want to do in the future. I wasn't in Gaelic medium when I was younger, and neither were my brothers, because that's when Gaelic medium wasn't a thing in our school. So it was quite hard to learn the language.
Yeah. And do you regret not getting that opportunity, not having the possibility to get in at that time?
Yes, I did take part in the mod, so that helped quite a lot through primary school and through my secondary part of school as well.
And Caitlin, are you in the same boat as well?
I didn't go through Gaelic Medium Education, but I realised quite early on from maybe S3 that I had basic Gaelic skills, but I think when I got the choice, I thought it was good because I knew I wanted to develop my speaking skills, listening. So we've got a few opportunities, like Hannah was saying, we took part in Film G, which helped us a lot with our speaking skills, so that we became more confident. So that helped a lot.
That's it. And I'm sure one thing that is of advantage in terms of Gaelic medium education, Sandra, is that you can, that in the community we do hear Gaelic still in the village, and still hear people speaking it and using the languages. But in terms of Gaelic medium and getting the chance to be literate in the language, that's something you get from Gaelic medium education that is very, very important then at secondary level, like we were hearing, that competence, that equal competence and proficiency in Gaelic and English.
Absolutely. I'm going to follow on from something Donald said. My daughter has just finished in the Nicholson Institute. She's in her second year in university doing maths, and she had a very, very positive experience. She was fully supported through the system, and when she went to S1, she went through Gaelic medium, and when she went to S1, she said to me, I'm going to do Latin. And I was quite cross with her because I thought, no, you've gone through, you'll do Gaelic. No, I'm going to do Latin. I want to go down the science road. So I let her do it, and she did very, very well. And then she announced on 6th year, I'm going to crash a higher in Gaelic. And I said, you can't do that. She said, no, I'm going to do it. And little did I realise that the skills she had learnt in English, all the skills she had learnt in English, she transferred them to Gaelic, and we had Gaelic at home anyway. She'd gone through the Gaelic system in primary, and she walked her Gaelic higher. No bother at all. So the skills that you learn are transferable, and we find that in primary. We do what's called a Burt's reading test on the children when they start to read English. And what we are finding year on year is that the lowest reading age they have is their actual age, which is absolutely fine. But we've also found that the highest age is a lot higher than it should, and some of the children in English. So it's so positive. Our findings are so positive, and I just can't understand why everyone isn't putting their children through the bilingual system. We talk about it as Gaelic education. It's a bilingual education. In other countries, if you went to France, you'd be expected to learn French. They're not going to entertain your language just for you. I feel we should be doing the same here. We should be offering everybody, in my opinion, everybody should be going through the system in nursery, through the Gaelic system. We should be doing the same as we're doing in other countries, because there are so many benefits to a bilingual education.
And that is one thing, as you're saying, Sandra, in a way it is very clear to make parents aware that there is support for themselves, and that as part of the educational authority, that that support is there for parents that are putting their children through into Gaelic medium education, even if they themselves aren't fluent.
Yeah, and I think the sport isn't just when they come into school in primary one. You know, you often think that that's just the initial stages. The sport's there throughout. So, you know, many of our schools now have a Gaelic cafe, they have a drop-in time. So, as Sandra herself said, supporting not just the pupil but actually the parent alongside with the child, so they're learning together. And it's great to hear Innes talk about learning the language with his son, and you know, and we're seeing a lot of parents doing that, so the support continues all the way through. And at different times, you know, a child might be doing very well for a couple of years, and then they might just come up with maybe just a small barrier, and then we support that just in the same way as we support all children. So we're meeting their needs as they go along the path. Yeah.
And that is one as well, as you were mentioning about, you know, in secondary, that Gaelic education in the secondary system is expanding. There are more opportunities coming through in there, and so that grounding in the primary system is of great advantage when it comes to, say, if Caitlin and Lauren were mentioning, you do think about going to do Gaelic in secondary. Well, it certainly helps if you've got the Gaelic medium education. That's that step up already.
Yeah, I think we're trying to ensure that there's as much support as possible, and there we have things in place to ensure any pupil who needs help will get the help that they need. We want all pupils to do as well as possible in their Gaelic and in their English literacy skills. If they were to not continue with Gaelic at secondary phase, what you often see is that their language skills plateau and actually decrease. So it's very important that we think of it as a system from 3 right through to 18, and starting with the nursery, the preschool, the primary stage, where it's so important there's the total immersion, and then that there's immersion experiences right through till the end of secondary. Some of the support we provide just now using technology, so for example, stuff that they're doing in class is available through Glow, the email system, and using other platforms within Glow to make sure that the pupils have access at home, in the library, on their smartphone, on iPads, laptops that they're using in school. One of the things we can do is if a parent was wanting to support a child doing homework, but the homework is done through the medium of Gaelic, we can provide English versions of the homework. So for example, we've got pupils who are doing an assessment next week. I've issued them with the Gaelic notes, but they have the English notes as well. So if they want to discuss it with their parents, or with a sibling who doesn't have Gaelic, or whoever, so that there's, we're making full use of all the technology that's available. There's increasing number of Gaelic resources available, whether it's dictionaries or grammar support online. Increasingly, the stuff that we produce is of a higher quality because it's digital. And what we're seeing, so for example, in assessments at SQA level, they will always get an English copy of the exam paper as well. So if there is any issue with terminology or anything like that, that they can refer to that. They'll still do the qualification through Gaelic, and increasingly pupils are wanting to do that, so that they've got recognition that they've done a subject through the medium of Gaelic, but the support is there to make it as easy as possible for them to go through Gaelic medium education, come out at the end with the skills for Gaelic and English.
And Nisha, to open it out a wee bit, because I know that we've got Bernard Chisholm, the Director of Education, in the audience with us, and since we were talking a wee bit, very clear about the support that the Conal does, and I don't know if I'll be able to ask Bernard a quick question just on that topic of support for the Gaelic medium education when it comes to the Conal. That is one thing maybe that we can be clear about, is that the support for the teachers, for the children, and the benefits from it are all there, and we know they're going to be there as well, that's certain.
Yes, I think the Comhairle has over many years committed itself with Scottish Government Board na Gaelic to provide the support. I think we've got an excellent group of teachers. We're still supporting teachers to go through training, recruiting. I think the multimedia units, Storlan, etc., a wide range of resources through MG Alba, digital online. I think the courses, the relevance of them. I think the peer support, the young people. Tonight you've got young people willing to talk, but 60% of kids can't be wrong if they want to go into education and enjoy it. And increasingly, it's not just what they're learning in school, it's what they're taking into their music, their jobs. And increasingly now, young people are looking for the advantage of Gaelic in health and social care, in childcare. And as a community, I suppose we recognise that now, because if that amount of parents and children want to go through, and by the way, it's a free gift, you're going to have the added cognitive advantages, and you're going to have the ability to travel. I think our parent here mentioned, and Marie Claire, learn one language, learn three. Every time you're reducing the time it takes to learn the fourth, the fifth. And I think what our young people are then getting is a greater confidence in travelling in the world as well, because we're becoming pretty unique in the world that we're only speaking one language. So I think we've got the resources, and any parent who makes that choice, the evidence is, even if they're from a non-Gaelic speaking background, by the end of year one, as was mentioned, even without Gaelic in the home, the children will be speaking. So I don't think there's anything to be feared. I think Ines said that. There's nothing to be frightened of, and any particular support. One of the areas increasingly that we get more and more young people enrolled is, do we have the additional learning support? Do we have the speech and language therapy? And I think now the Corla has made decisions that not only is Gaelic first, so that's one issue, and we anticipate we'll enroll, but we want to start to look and have people who are working in community learning, support assistants, have at least 60% of them with the qualifications so we can help. So I think there's a wide range of areas, and we'll continue to develop them.
And on the subject of the advantages in terms of employment as well, Emma, I know for yourself as well, that is one thing, that being able to speak Gaelic and being competent in Gaelic means that there are extra roles available then when you are looking for a job, and importantly, in the context of our islands as well, jobs in the islands that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get by virtue of having Gaelic proficiency. You're able to get your own role amongst them as well.
Absolutely. By having Gaelic, I've had so many different opportunities, from things that are to do with employment and out of employment. But to do with employment, I've had so many opportunities, whether it's been kind of volunteering or actual paid work. Even when I was in school in 6th year and that, on my free periods, I got the opportunity to go into the other classes and help them out, just as to kind of build my own confidence and gain experience, because it's always teaching I wanted to do. So it was a good way for that. And then after I got some experience in here itself in e-Sgoil, and then I'd moved to Glasgow to study, and it's about the connections you make as well. So Angus McLennan was my own teacher in school, and it was when I moved to Glasgow. And my own as well,
I should admit.
And when I went to Glasgow, I was thinking I need a part-time job, and it's so I found it so difficult. And although I would take any kind of job that would pay part-time, I was thinking I would really love something in Gaelic. And my sister-in-law worked in the Glasgow Gaelic school, and she really enjoyed it, so I thought I would love to get something like that. So I emailed him, and I hadn't spoken to him in a long time, so I emailed him and I thought, I'll see if he's got any connections, anybody I can email or something. And within hours, he responded to me, said, here's her contact details. I think it was the head teacher of the Glasgow Gaelic school. So I emailed her, and then a couple of days or a week later or so, I had an interview to work for Auckland and Glasgow. So I ended up getting the job there. It was just to do after school clubs and things with them, which was really, really good, and I enjoyed it the whole time I was away. And then when I'd finished my studies, I was thinking, I think I want to go home. So then this job that I'm in just now came up, and I think there was 3 posts in Gaelic and maybe 2 in English, or the opposite way around. And I applied for the one in Gaelic, and I thought, loads of people will have gone for this, and I thought there's no chance. But I did my interview and things, and I did get the job, and I think there was maybe 2 or 3 questions in the interview that were in Gaelic, and you worry yourself thinking, oh man, I haven't spoken it properly in so long, but you remember everything. See, when it comes to it, you remember absolutely everything. I think if you stop speaking it, you lose your confidence, but as soon as you start again, you remember everything. So now that I'm in this job and I'm speaking Gaelic every single day, I find my Gaelic is just, I amaze myself. I amaze myself. But it's been the opportunities it's given me it's crazy, and I couldn't recommend it anymore.
And I think as well, John, that you mentioned yourself as well, that your own role at the moment, it's through speaking Gaelic has given you just that extra way in, if you like. It's never a disadvantage, it's always an advantage, because there are roles and jobs that you're able to do as a Gaelic speaker that you couldn't do if you weren't a Gaelic speaker.
Yeah, it's very useful having Gaelic, as I'll be able to communicate better with people of all ages. So especially like very young children that have come from Gaelic speaking families, they're more comfortable speaking in Gaelic, and also older people. So they tend to trust you better and be more comfortable with you. But with the apprenticeship I'm doing, I feel like it will be very useful, as I can do a whole different range of people, like to do with health and stuff. So.
Yeah, so it's just another way of communicating that you wouldn't otherwise have if it wasn't for GME. And that's maybe one thing that Mary Claire, returning almost to the educational side of it, it's a very important decision that parents have to make in which stream they're putting their children into. But it's one with a lot of consequences, and that has a lot of benefits potentially if you put your child through Gaelic Medium Education, whether it's, like we were hearing, in terms of language learning, whether it's culture or employment as well.
Absolutely, and even down to, there's been quite a lot of focus on intergenerational learning in our schools too, and just as you said yourself, allowing young people to then start communicating with older people in the community and care homes. There's studies showing that people with Alzheimer's and dementia actually go back to their own language again, so that really helps that communication. But you see immediately we have a group of children going to a local care home, and as soon as the children start speaking Gaelic to them, you can just see them relaxing and just connecting, and that's all fantastic, I think, as well. So that's just beyond the school community to the wider community, just the benefits of speaking the language and just having those links and creating new links as well. Yeah.
And since I was a vulture with the audience with poor Bernard, and I know we've got Francis Webster here from Skills Development School. I don't know if we've got the microphone still, have it thrown, but that is a good point in terms of our young people and their learning, their abilities, their competency, proficiencies. Gaelic is always an advantage when it comes to educational opportunities, particularly in when we've mentioned social care, we've mentioned education, there's tourism, any number of sectors you could mention, and there's an advantage there.
So many growing opportunities, and I think too, I was really interested in something that somebody on the panel said about how even if you're not using Gaelic in a job, the fact that you have bilingualism means that you have been developing those skills, which means that you are a good problem solver, you're a good listener, you can communicate better. So there are all kinds of advantages over and above the growing range of jobs now, where Gaelic is really an asset.
And I think we might, as I'm conscious that I won't carry on putting questions on my poor panel all evening at all, but I might, for Ines, yourself, and Sheila as well, I'll put the same question to yourself, as if there was a parent watching, say, who's sitting at home and who's watching, and who's not too sure about whether they'll put their child into Gaelic Medium Education or not. It could be for any number of reasons. What would be your main reason for recommending Gaelic Medium for them?
I would say it's definitely for a future career, without a doubt. Even in my own job and different things I'm doing in my pastime, I'm meeting more and more people that are speaking Gaelic now. And what I'm finding is, recently I was doing a wee bit of work with the television and that, and when you turn up and you're the only person in the whole building out of maybe 200 people that can't speak Gaelic, and you're just sitting there, you know, with a question mark above your head. What I find with a lot of the Gaelic people is rather than speak English to you, they just try and speak the Gaelic a wee bit more simple. And working alongside them for maybe 3 or 4 days, I was starting to pick just the basic stuff up straight away, you know. But no, definitely for career, I mean, there's so many people and so little jobs now that you need to be able to come out of school with a, you know, a chance of securing a good
Any
job.
advantage you've got.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And Sheila, how about yourself? What would you say to somebody who's maybe wavering, who's not sure? What would be the main reason that you might recommend?
Yeah, I think any other language, like Sandra was saying, doesn't matter which one, but when you're bilingual, I suppose it gives you the edge for absorbing a bit more. If you know, my son's very good at Latin now, and they don't really speak much at home. They've only done it once when we went to India because everybody was speaking everything else, and they got a bit left out, so they started speaking in Gaelic.
The one language that you know that nobody in Nagaland is going to speak.
Yeah, so that was the only time I heard them laughing, and all throughout the day they spoke Gaelic. So I remember that day. But I think it also gives them, you know, I don't know if it's problem solving. I think it's one of them things. I think they do find it maybe easier as they get older. But definitely, I don't see any negative in learning another language. You know, I think it's great. Learn more.
That's it. And as Sandra, as you were saying, the support is there. Parents who would be thinking about it and who aren't sure, they'll know they can speak to somebody and get help when it comes to homework, everything else.
The teacher's door is always open, and there are lots of places you can go. Gaelic for Parents, online help, where you can access the reading books. All the reading books are there through the whole reading scheme in primary, and you can put the child to the computer, they can hear the book being read. Yeah. A lot of our parents find that very, very useful. There's the Go Gaelic scheme. Again, it's very helpful for parents if they want to learn Gaelic. It's good for the children too. Lots of fun exercises that they can do. Storlan, a wealth of stuff on Storlan online. We as teachers use it. We download all the things on it. Parents can use it. And I think speaking to other parents who've put their children through the system, speak to them, find out from them, you know, practical questions, how they got on, any obstacles they had, how they overcame it. So there's lots of help out there, lots.
And I will open it as well if anybody who's in the audience here has a question, if any of you want to ask anything. I've just noticed we do have a question from the stream, which does follow on a little, Sandra, from what you're saying about what resources and support are available to help parents to learn and support their child. So as you're saying, they are there, yes. and they are able to be picked up, whether it's Storlan or other. But there's an interesting question as well, which is important, and particularly when parents are putting their children to school, to make sure they get all the support. We've got a question here that if pupils have issues related to speech, is there support available, whether that's helping children that are just needing a wee bit extra to help along?
Yeah.
How does that fit in? Yes, of course.
My son had a problem speaking. He had to go through speech therapy. But I was a bit worried, how was he going to cope going to Gaelic Medium. So I went and spoke to Muriel before I put him to school, and I said, he's already going through speech therapy. I don't speak Gaelic, and my daughter does, but I don't think she will speak with her brother. But nobody else speaks Gaelic in the house. He's already not speaking much. How are we going to deal with this? But I really want him to go to Gaelic Medium, because my daughter did as well. But do you know what? Muriel didn't even flinch. She said, it's all right, be fine. Yes. And within 3 months, he was actually able to show me, tell me, whatever. So I think when you were talking about the learning through play, all that I think is very, very important, because they don't know that they're actually learning. That's right. But from P3, I could see actually he was quite fluent. He knew exactly, and in fact he would be asking me water in Gaelic, you know, what's that? So, yeah, so
we do have speech therapy in the schools. The speech therapists come in, so if we spot a problem early, we will refer it. So that the help is there. And like you said, we do a lot through traditional song, and there's wonderful sounds in that. So the children are hearing, you know, the rich sounds. And I've had children who've had speech difficulty, and they're absolutely fine. We refer them to speech therapist, and they get additional support. And it has been there's no disadvantage to it. It's turned out all right.
I think also because of the strong focus on literacy, because you are learning that in a sense an additional language, that a lot of time is spent in literacy and a lot of time listening to the language, and the pace of learning as well is maybe perhaps a bit slower as well, so and a lot of repetition, so that really helps too, makes a big difference.
Does anybody here have any questions you'd like to ask of anybody? I might just add, I think we have touched on it before as well, but Mary Claire, I remember you mentioning social care and things like that, but we've got a question about the opportunities other than media and teaching that are available, and as you say, they are there. It's never going to be to your disadvantage.
I think, as Anna said, they're growing as well. You know, that Gaelic has really got a place now on the islands and beyond the islands, across Scotland, and also the fact of it being unique, that you actually are bilingual, so that you're going and you're actually, before presenting yourself, that you're there to say, actually, I can speak 2 languages, or I can speak more than 2 languages. So whether you're using Gaelic as a language, the fact is that you're actually bilingual gives you a huge addition. Yeah. Well,
I think I've covered all the points that I was meaning, and I want to thank all the members of the panel very much indeed for joining us tonight. I've probably run over a wee bit as usual, and probably myself talking too much, but it's been a really, really interesting session, and I want to thank you all again, and thanks to yourselves here in Stornoway at e-Sgoil, and to the boffins who've been keeping everything going with the stream as well. I think I'd like to thank them all, and yourselves, anybody who's been watching on the live stream as well, or who'll watch a recording of it later. I hope it's answered all your questions, and as we've heard tonight, there are people, if you do still have questions, there are people at the educational authorities who can answer any queries you've got. But thanks again. I'll go through all of your names again just to make sure I say thank you to you all. Donald MacLeod, secondary teacher at the Nicholson Institute, Emma MacDonald, who's a classroom assistant at Stornoway Primary, Sandra McKeever, primary school teacher at Stornoway Primary, Sheila Mackenzie, whose children have gone through Gaelic Medium Education in Scot, whose son's going through Gaelic Medium, Mary Claire Ferguson from Cornwall and Shear from the Education Department, Joanna McLean from Skills Development Scotland, Hannah MacLeod, Lauren MacLeod, and Caitlin Macaulay, all from the Nicholson. Thank you all very, very much indeed for answering all of my questions, and thank you to everybody who's put tonight on as well. I hope it was all very useful and informative for you.